Yo guys, what's up? It's Adam here, a Cantina guy. Welcome to the Movie Vault. Carrying on with the Disney movies. You know, a lot of people have been coming onto my channel and requesting all kinds of Disney movies for me to review. Because I've been really enjoying my playlist of all the Disney films that I've reviewed so far. I've also done like a little bit of mixture. I mean, I've recently just reviewed Jurassic Park. That didn't get a very full amount of views. Well, not yet anyway, but I know the Jurassic Park people out there are big fans of the movie and I will get views and comments on them soon. But the Disney films seem to be on a little bit of a roll. Okay, and I got a request from one subscriber of mine to do a review on this movie right here, Snow White The Seven Dwarfs from 1937. I just got done watching it moments ago, and again, it was one of those Disney films which I watched constantly as a kid. You know, because Disney's a big part of everybody's life. Everybody, I mean, not just children, not just teenagers, but also adults and the elderly. You know, people travel all over the world to go and visit Disney World and Disneyland, not just in America, you know, Disneyland Paris and other types of Disney Worlds and Disneylands, you know, because it's a big part of everyone's childhood. It's for everybody, you know, and my personal opinion is that the best time of Disney is when they came out through the 90s, you know, when they had adventure to them and like a dark age to them as well at the same time. And Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, although it's like a short concept with nothing really much happening, it does have its dark moments. I mean, like the witch transformation, you know, where she turns into the wicked old ugly lady, making a poisonous apple to poison Snow White. I mean, poisoning somebody, I mean, with an apple, yeah, that is a dark moment. Or whether it's that short little moment in the forest, you know, where that huntsman is going to kill Snow White by stabbing him with a knife, you know what I mean? So Disney films back in them days, you know, did have its dark moments, and in my opinion, that added the whole edginess to it. At the same time, they told good stories and lovable stories. The characters in them were very likeable and lovable for all members of the family. And one thing why I like this movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, is the fact that it's just so easy to like. I mean, I thought the Snow White character was very beautiful. The voice actress did a great job of her. A lot of people say she was very gullible and a little bit soft, you know, especially the part where she invites the evil queen into the house, you know. But that's just, in my opinion, Snow White showing how big her heart is by helping out an older lady, you know. People make fun of her because they say that she turned all the dwarfs into slaves, and, well, not the dwarfs themselves, but the animals into slaves. Like when she goes into the dwarfs' home and tells them all to wash up and clean the house. Hey, wash up and clean up the house, you know. I'm not going to pay you, but you're going to be my slaves right now. You're going to help me stay here by cleaning the place, you know, because I said so. Or whether she's telling the dwarfs to wash before they eat, you know. Hey lady, it's our house, you know, if we want it dirty and we don't want to wash our hands, we can. It's our house, you know, stop telling us what to do, you know. But I don't see it like that. You know, I don't see it like that. Snow White's a very open-hearted, very kind, loving character, and she takes a shine straight away to all seven of the dwarfs, and she just wants to educate them in a way and make sure that they're living healthy and right, you know. And it's just giving out good messages as well, you know. The children who are watching, you know, wash before you eat and make sure you're keeping your rooms tidy and things like that. So they set out pretty humble, nice messages. I mean, the film opens up with the evil witch, who's the stepmother of Snow White. She says, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" And basically the magic mirror is telling the evil stepmother that she's ugly, because she says Snow White is the most beautifulest one, and while she's around, you're always going to be second best. She doesn't say that the witch is ugly, she just says, well, that's what he's trying to say. He's saying, you're not as beautiful as Snow White, you never will be. And then while Snow White's around, she's going to be the fairest one of all, you know, and this makes the evil queen jealous and very mad. Now, the prince doesn't really have a lot to do in this movie. I mean, you see him once at the start, you know, while Snow White is being a slave in the castle, you know, she's cleaning the steps and she's singing at the wishing well, wishing that one day the prince will come and whisk her off her feet. And then the prince finds her, but Snow White ends up running away because she's very shy. And like I say, she kisses a dove. The dove flies to the prince. The dove blushes and kisses the prince, and then you don't see the prince again till like the last half of the movie. Well, not the last half, the very last act. You know, where Snow White's like in a coma from the poison apple. You know what I mean? So, sorry, I got distracted by something outside. So while all this is happening, the evil queen's plotting to kill Snow White. She hires a huntsman to take her into the forest and kill her. You know, but the huntsman is kind. When he tries to kill her, he can't go through with it. She explains to Snow White that the witch is that she's very jealous of Snow White and tells her to run away and never come back. And then we get a suspense scene where Snow White's running through a forest and loads of crazy shit's happening, like faces appearing on trees, the logs in the lake are turning into crocodiles ready to snap at her. It was a freaky scene, you know. Luckily it wasn't too freaky like the trees in The Evil Dead when they're raping that girl. Of course, you're not going to see that in a Disney film, but kind of reminded me of that scene, you know, from The Evil Dead, you know, where that rape scene in the forest, you know, with the trees and all that, you know. Kind of reminded me a lot of The Evil Dead. But most of all these faces that are appearing are lovable, innocent animals. And these animals lead Snow White to the cottage of the Seven Dwarfs, because she needs a place to stay now. And when she comes across the house, she just barges in, you know what I mean? Never knowing that what could be living there, like hillbillies or somebody with a shotgun behind the door, you know what I mean? She just barges away into the house, trespasses, and she thinks the best way that would make them stay is if she tidies the house. You know, and then we're singing that song, Just Whistle While You Work. And speaking of the songs in this movie, they're very memorable and very likeable. Of course, the number one song, in my opinion, in this movie is Hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to work we go. Excuse me while I shut the window. Sorry about that, everyone. I had to shut the window, there's a bit of a draft. So yeah, hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to work we go. You know, in my opinion, that's like the most memorable song in the whole movie. You know, the dwarves are singing it when they finish their days at work and when they're going to work. What's fantastic about that is that they use that scene in the Gremlins. I mean, if you see the Gremlins and all the Gremlins are in the theatre and they're watching Snow White, they play that scene, the hi-ho, it's off to work we go, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, hi-ho, hi-ho, and the Gremlins are singing along to it. So a lot of people who have not seen Snow White and they come across that scene, some of them make them think that they want to watch the film, which had a really nice touch to it. You know, all the dwarfs are working in this mine where they've got diamonds. And I think to myself, okay, you're digging up all these expensive rare diamonds, you know, how come you haven't got a better house, you know? But this was 1937, so I suppose it wasn't like that. But you're not supposed to think of things like that. When the dwarfs arrive, they notice all the changes in the house, and they eventually encounter Snow White, who's asleep in the beds, and they agree to let her stay. You know, although one dwarf in particular, Grumpy, is not too happy about the idea. What's so great about these dwarves is that they're so lovable characters. I mean, you got the seven dwarfs: sleepy, dark, bashful, happy, sneezy. I mean, I just watched the film moments ago and I can't remember all the names. Please wait till it's going to drive me insane now. It's going to absolutely drive me insane not knowing all these dwarfs' names, so I'm going to look it up right now. I got most of them right, but there's just one or two that I was missing. So here we go. Names of seven dwarfs. Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleazy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. There you go. I think when I was a kid, my favourite dwarfs were had to be Grumpy. I think Grumpy and Dopey. I mean, especially Dopey. I mean, Dopey was everyone's favourite dwarf, I should imagine. You know, especially with the kids because he was like he's the one who couldn't talk and he did all like these dopey facial expressions and all these dopey moments. You know, so I think Dopey was everyone's favourite as a child. You know, but then again, I like Grumpy. Also, I remember my mother, God bless her soul, she knitted me this Grumpy costume, you know, when I was a child, because I wanted to go to fancy dress school parties dressed as one of the Seven Dwarfs, and I'd go dressed as Grumpy. She'd get me a fake beard and knit me like all these, the Grumpy outfit, you know, the red jumper that he wore and the swinging hat, and, you know, that was some good times. But like I say, in Pace, nothing really happens when you think about it. I mean, think about it. I mean, it's Snow White running away, going through the forest, staying at the house because of the dwarf's approval. You get one or two scenes, you know, where she's like looking after the house, looking after the dwarfs. The dwarfs are doing their thing by going to work. In the meantime, the evil queen is plotting revenge by killing Snow White with a poison apple. She succeeds in the disguise of an old lady. The dwarfs chase after her. The queen falls to her death off a cliff. You know, the dwarfs can't bury Snow White because she's too beautiful, so they put her in a glass coffin. The prince arrives, kisses Snow White, lifts the curse, and they live happily ever after. And that is the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all in one whole. But despite me just going through it quick by quick, it's still like a very interesting film to watch. I mean, like I said, the songs are enjoyable, the characters are lovable. Love Snow White, love the dwarfs. The dwarfs weren't annoying. They were just goofy enough to you know, enjoy them. I mean, they have enjoyable moments themselves. Like, you could tell the dwarfs like to have fun because there's a song that they sing throughout the whole movie called the Silly Song. You know, when they're all entertaining each other. You know, entertaining Snow White. You know, so yeah, she sings that song "One Day My Prince Will Come," which my mum loved because I remember her singing that song herself while she was cooking in the kitchen. You know, she loved the Snow White character. You know, and like I said, the evil queen puts a magic spell on herself where she disguises an old haggard lady and she makes a poisonous apple. But she learns that the curse can be lifted by a kiss, you know. And coincidentally, that's what happens because when she succeeds in giving Snow White the apple, she bites the apple, she dies, and then when it comes to the end scene where the prince makes his second appearance and his second only appearance, kisses Snow White, and they live happily ever after. You know, and that's just Snow White in the Seven Dwarfs movie. Would it be interesting to see a sequel to this movie? I don't know. They'd have to think of something really good, but it'd be like really good to see what happened to the dwarfs. I mean, I know Snow White and the prince go away and they live happily ever after, but what happened to the dwarfs? You know, I'd like to see something happen with those beloved characters again. You know, it'd be really interesting to see, at least in my opinion. You know, but they're lovable, laughable characters. I mean, like in the scene, you know, where they're first going into the house where Snow White's cleaned up the house and they think it's a ghost or a monster and they're running away into the forest and things like that. I love the wash scene, you know, where they're all washing just before tea and they make fun of Grumpy, you know, forcing him to have a wash and all that kind of thing. So, I don't think there was anything I didn't like about the film. I mean, it seems like a very short film. It does seem like a very short film with not a lot happening, but with the space that time that did happen, there were likeable times, and you can't really complain about the movie being too short or too long. In my opinion, it ended at a right pace, and you get good things happening, you know, things that you enjoy. So, no complaints from me from that department. So, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, definitely one of my favourites growing up in my childhood. Of course, I love all the obvious ones like Bambi and Pinocchio, Aladdin. I like 90s Disney. The ones that have the dark moments, you know, the dark feel to them, but they tell good stories. You know, we don't get that with Disney anymore these days, and that's a really good kick up the ass. You know, that's why I won't watch any of today's movies or any of the live action movies like Beauty and the Beast or Pinocchio or anything like that for that matter. You know, they're just not the same. But anyway, everyone, please leave a comment on this video and email me if you've got any questions. That's my review on Snow White from 1937. Thanks for watching this, everybody, and please leave a comment below. Peace out and have a nice day. Take care.